This is a 35mm film that I think is pretty unknown. At least here in Europe, I've never seen it, and in Japan, where I found it, I only saw it that one time at the place where I bought it. As you know, I like to try out these lesser known films and share the results with you in my videos. The film we're shooting today is by the brand Explore Film, and it is called Himalaya 200. As you can see on the beautiful box design, this film seems to be intended for a specific use case. The name and the mountain graphic make me assume that this must be the film for shooting in the mountains. And well, fortunately, I live in just the right place to find that out. This is video number 4 in this series of trying out films. So far I've shown you Cyberpunk 640T, Sword Art 200, Golden 80s, and today it's time to try out Himalaya 200. For the previous films, I sometimes did some research beforehand and sometimes barely any, and for Himalaya, the latter is true. I did not do any research on this film and decided to just embrace the surprise. To be honest though, I had an expectation. I was guessing that this film is probably just respooled Kodak Vision 250D without the remjet layer, something we see a lot. However, let me tell you already, I was surprised. This film is not what I was expecting it to be.
Quando o piano já não quer mais tocar.
This is my first spring in Innsbruck, and so I've been eagerly learning about the climate here among other things. For mountain lovers like myself, it is good to have a rough estimate of how much snow is on the mountains in certain months of the year. And May seems to be a bit of a mix actually. We have a lot of high mountains nearby which all have snow on them well into the summer, and so I did some research to find a trail that fits 2 conditions. Number 1, it should not be full of snow, obviously, so that it's hikeable. Number 2, it should be a rather easy hike because this is my first hike of the season and I'm not feeling my fittest and most confident, so I wanted to start easy not to get myself into danger. And so with those 2 conditions in mind, I found a trail that suited this mission, and it was one that I've been wanting to check out for some time, and so I decided to pick that. I asked a friend of mine, Fabian, if he would like to join, which he did, and so one fine morning the 2 of us made our way to the trail.
I was driving down the coastline. I had no thought of destination. I was just hoping it would make me feel fine. I guess it was some kind of contemplation.
So here is photo number 1. I'll leave the first few shots uncommented for now and share my thoughts a little later once you've seen a few more photos on this film. We had met early in the morning, just after sunrise, which turned out to be a lovely time to be on this trail. We were still in the shade for some time, as you can see, but in the distance, on the opposite mountain, the sunlight was visible. We just had to wait for the sun to rise higher and come up above the mountain to the left of us, and so we had a nice mixture of morning shade and then some sunlight slowly coming in over time.
Ja, mal äußere. Darf ich vielleicht da so ein Porträt von dir machen?
Sicher.
Wenn du die da so, siehst du hier das Gras, da ist ja so eine kleine Mulde schon fast. Das passt perfekt. Ja, genau da circa. Ich finde, das ist so ein schöner Hintergrund nämlich auch. 3, 2, 1. Wunderbar, danke.
Here is photo number 5, and I think it's time to share some first thoughts. Well, as you can see, the film is clearly not what I was expecting. This is definitely not Kodak Vision 250D without the remjet layer. Here's an example of what that looks like. Quite obviously very different, I'd argue. And so I have no idea what this is. Maybe it actually is their own film recipe, or maybe it's a modification of an existing film that goes beyond just removing the remjet layer. So far, the film appears to be quite insensitive. I exposed these shots for the shadows and usually added half a stop or even 1 whole stop of light extra to get some details in the shadows, but as you can see, this film does not like shadow detail. In general, the dynamic range seems to be quite low. One more thing I noticed in these darker shots is a lack of light in the corners. This could come from my lens, however when shooting any other film the vignetting is really subtle, whereas with this film it seems to be much more drastic. I don't know why that is, but it's not exactly a feature I appreciate. But before I become too critical, I should mention that I didn't research this film, and so maybe it's only intended for very sunny photos, of which I will be shooting many once the sun comes out above the mountain, so we'll see about that then.
Loosen up on the grind, simmer down, settle back and mess around.
Apart from chatting about the film, can we briefly appreciate the absolutely insane beauty of this place? Of course, beauty is subjective, but for me, this is it. This is fantastic. And it's kind of funny in a way. Hikers usually feel rewarded by the view they get when reaching the top of the mountain. However, this trail feels like a bit of a cheat. It's not steep at all, a very easy hike, yet you instantly get these gorgeous views. I was initially not sure whether I was going to shoot the whole roll of film in just this session, but it was at this point that I was getting a feeling that 36 shots was going to fly by rather easily after all. At this point of the hike, we had come to a part that was a bit steeper, but really not bad yet. However, when we looked back, we noticed that we indeed were higher up by now, and the view was great, and so we ended up looking for some more angles to shoot the view from. This is the photo I shot. I like it, however, I think this is another good example for the lack of dynamic range of this film. I would love to see this shot with some details in the shadows, which sadly turned out pretty much black.
Oh, jetzt kommt sie raus, jetzt ist sie da.
Just as the sun was coming out, Fabian was standing at a nice angle to the light, and so I asked him for another portrait.
3, 2, 1. Schön.
Here's the result, and I like this one. The lighting is pretty cool, and I love the fully equipped look of Fabian with the backpack and the camera strapped on him. The film, as you can see, looks quite alright here, certainly a little experimental and lo-fi looking. The edges for some reason turned red, and if you look carefully you can see that the film has these little scratches. This can happen during development, but I'm led to think that this is the film because the lab I use never gives me scratched negatives.
No pensé que iba a encontrar a mi otra mitad, pero apareciste. Esto tenía que pasar.
Here's another example of scratches on the film. Also, by the way, you can see that the sun had come out in full force at this point, and it looks like the film is liking it. Then, before we continue, I want to take a moment to thank the continued sponsor of the channel, Squarespace. Squarespace is an easy-to-use all-in-one website platform. I've been using Squarespace for my website for close to 5 years now, and I'm still so happy with it, mainly because it's so easy for someone like me who is certainly not a web developer. I use my Squarespace website as a portfolio where I showcase projects of mine. However, you can build pretty much anything on Squarespace, be it a simple blog or an online shop or a site for bookings if you're a freelancer. They will have what you need. I built my page by starting off with a template, which Squarespace offers a whole lot of, and then customizing the layout and design to my liking. This process has been so well optimized by them thanks to their drag and drop editor called Fluid Engine. I seriously love that they've created this tool that makes the process of being creative while making a website not feel slow or tedious, even though I'm a technical noob when it comes to web design. I really recommend that you try it out for yourself. You can head to squarespace.com for a 14-day free trial, by the way, and then when you're ready to launch your website, you can go to squarespace.com/TeoCrawford to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thank you so much to Squarespace for continuously supporting my channel and my work here. I really appreciate it.
last rodeo written on my back window. I've never tried this before.
Oh, Schnee und Sonne, das taugt mir sehr jetzt. Muss ich schon sagen.
Here I wanted to get another portrait of Fabian because I really liked the look of the faraway backdrop and the sunlight coming from the side. Here's the result, and I like it, but I have to say this film is so tough. I exposed this shot for the shadows, yet they are still really muddy and turning red. If you like a lo-fi look, this is great. Personally, however, I was actually hoping for something cleaner, so it feels a little disappointing because I really like this shot and would love to see this shot on something like Kodak Gold, for example.
That I've never been. I'm fixated on every new shape you're making.
Here's another example that demonstrates quite clearly how this film has some strange sort of sensitivity fall off at the edges. The red spots even appear on snow, which certainly is not due to underexposure. That stuff was glowing in bright white. We continued our hike and the patches of snow appeared more frequently and they became increasingly bigger. Here I spotted a cool looking mountain hut in the distance, which I thought could be a cool subject. The result is okay, a little funky looking and lo-fi of course, but apart from that, it's fine.
Blue sky come bearing up before us.
This photograph, I must say, I really like the look of. Despite of the film's lo-fi characteristics, this one turned out pretty good looking in my opinion. I think it's the right balance of the lo-fi character and detail. I do enjoy some lo-fi characteristics, but in many of the photos so far it was just a bit too much for my taste in this specific scenario. There are cases in which I intentionally shoot with a somewhat degraded looking film, but on this day I was actually hoping for rather clean shots, and this photograph is a neat balance between clean and stylized. It makes this shot look a lot like a memory, which is something I always enjoy. So that leaves us with a key takeaway for this film. If you want to lean more towards a clean image, you should ideally only shoot in very, very bright scenes and feed the film with a lot of light.
Blue sky come, promise not to leave us, tarry not to our town.
Here I tried to get a photo balancing the hut and the bicycles in one composition in the scenery, which neatly summarizes the state of this trail on a day like this in May.
Yes.
The bicycles belong to locals who bike up here with their skis and then go ski touring as soon as they reach a point with enough leftover snow, as you can see in the tracks that we've been passing.
Bolts of lightning, pouring rain, crescent moon has taken itself far away to lay down. One more lazy dream. I can't sleep. They used to cut, you and me. We was thicker than blood, but the sky moved up and got inside of me. I still hear the words you told me. They do me so lonely when I'm gone. But it isn't true. I was just as lonely with you.
While hiking up this patch of snow, I shot 2 photographs of Fabian, which I think turned out pretty cool. I like the scene and the compositions. The look, on the other hand, is unfortunately not quite what I like. And something interesting here again are the scratches on the negatives, which in this case sort of look like lens flares you'd get when shooting with an anamorphic lens. Here we arrived at the point where the patches of snow became one big field of snow again, where we decided to call this the destination for today. We stayed here to hang out for a while, take in the view and shoot a little more here and there.
In a single sail, white rocky island, you and I on the trail. Just us in the waves, no need to behave in the harbor of
So, ich glaube hier irgendwo würde ich nämlich gerne ein ähnliches Bild machen wie das, was du von mir gemacht hast.
It was here that I asked Fabian to pose for a photograph that marked our arrival at the end, the point where the snow begins again and we can't continue, unlike the ski tours.
Da ist gut.
I really like this photo. It seems like a great summary of the morning, and I just like how the scene and the composition work out here, with the field of snow behind Fabian and the river acting as a leading line that shows us how much further one could actually still go.
Oh, the lilac snow drifting down so soft and slow.
After some time at that spot, we turned around and made our way back down. At this point, I had almost finished my roll. I had 2 more shots left, which I shot on the way down. And that was the end of the shoot and this wonderful morning hike. I had a lot of fun. The hike was gorgeous and I'm really pleased with the trail. It was very easy and a great way to begin the season before hiking more challenging routes later this year. And it was great fun to document the morning with the Pentax. Unfortunately, the film did not quite yield the result I was hoping for, but that is exactly why I did this shoot. Basically, I tried the film so that you don't have to. I think my opinion was made rather clear. It's not really a type of film that suits my taste. However, if you really enjoy a lo-fi look, then this film might be worth trying out. I hope you enjoyed coming along on this fine morning and testing this film. Thank you to Fabian for joining me and being the subject of so many of my photos on this day. I'll leave a link to his Instagram in the description in case you want to check out his work. Before saying goodbye, I would like to say thank you to the lovely people supporting me on Patreon. Thank you so much to each one of you. If you're interested in Lightroom presets, tutorials or postcards, you can check out my page via the link in the description. Also, I have a print shop in case that is of interest to you, also in the description. With that said, I hope to see you again soon. Until then, goodbye.